What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here, as you all know, is the podcast where we dive into the deep, dark, murky waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the numero uno scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's REXXX. You know me as the king of sleaze, a.k.a. the hair metal high priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. can't really see him good with the glare of my studio lighting here, but a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. That's the man right there. My pops and conclusive DNA testing will soon prove that you are looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a lot of grams. I'm your ice cream man. I got a million fans. Mr. Wop Papa Loo Boppa Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. Feeling good? And as always, everybody in the house, including my beautiful audience, but especially me, looking good. For me, that's made possible by see it, get it, love it. Coming to you as always from the lush lavender lounge of love. Look at this place. Beautifully decorated, the decor, the ambiance, and of course, what pulls it all together, my right-hand man, Keith Hernandez puppet right here. This is, of course, the No Frills podcast. You don't get any frills, but you do get plenty of thrills, and that in the big scheme of things is better than frills. And what are those thrills? You may be asking yourself. Boom, frame it in gold, baby. Getting to look at this face. Excuse me, little Flemish. We got another good one for you tonight with another legend. He's here now, so I'm not even gonna fucking bump my gums anymore. We're just going to get into it, chop it up with them on Pod Scum. This episode is going to go hard. Oh, I'm all fucking fired up, man. I can't, man. I can't, he's turned sideways. I can't help myself, bro. I came on, man, in my intro. I'm more pumped than usual, man. I don't know.
Really?
Are you able to hear me okay?
I can hear you good. Is this better looking at me this way?
That's perfect. Yeah, that's right. Good. I'm telling you what, man, as soon as as a prelude leading up to this, man, I fucking was listening to the new All Out War. I mean, come on, how can you not get fucking pumped, man? Fucking pumped. This is, of course, Anthony. I'm going to get the last name right.
Andy.
I pride myself on doing this. Andy PIETROLUONGO.
That's pretty darn good.
Damn.
I'm gonna go with that. Great.
I have a last name that's hard to pronounce too, man. That's why I stick with their whole Rex Ruger thing. Easier.
Okay, all right. Well, mine's pretty phonetic, so if you take your time with it, it's a little roller coaster ride, but it works out all right.
Yeah. Now you came into this band All Out War, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. 2003.
I actually came in 98.
Okay. So I'm way off.
A little. Well, 2003 is when we got back together and did Condemned to Suffer.
Okay.
But shortly after the recording of For Those Who Were Crucified, Jimbo ended up leaving the band.
Yeah.
So I actually joined before it was actually out.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that's a hell of a run, man. That's a hell of a run with it. And this has all been with one band, or are you somebody that does like side projects and other endeavors?
I've done different things. I knew Mike from doing other bands. My first band was with Matt from Hatebreed.
Yeah.
So he was like a local guy here and stuff. But
yeah,
All Out War is definitely my longest tenure.
Yeah.
It's altogether 98, 25 years or something.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah.
And are you a New York? And are you a New York guy, man? Like a born and bred New York guy?
Yeah. I was born in Yonkers.
Yeah.
And we migrated a little bit away from the city little by little. I moved from Yonkers to Dobbs Ferry and then like Poughkeepsie.
Yeah, I'm upstate way, man. I'm probably the closest city that geographically that I tell people is probably Syracuse, where people would know the best.
All right. Do you guys do you have this like weird haze outside now from these fires in Canada.
Yeah, it smells intense here. Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
Very pungent odor outside right now. Yeah,
I thought my house was on fire when I got home. I was looking around. It smelled like an electric fire.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. It's pretty crazy to think something like that could be happening hours away, and yet we're getting affected by it. I mean,
You're not kidding. Yeah.
So what was your upbringing like? Like, did you have aspirations to do anything else? Like how early on in your life did you say, man, I'm going to take a stab at music?
Well, I can't. My family's pretty musical. My uncle's actually I don't know if it's going to keep going on, but he's the bass player for Neil Diamond's band.
No shit.
Yes. So
the legend himself. You gotta, you know, even if it's not your style of music, you got to give credit to a guy like Neil Diamond. He's a fucking legend.
Absolutely.
A legend.
And he treats the band incredibly well, which makes me like him more. So it's, you know, music has always been a accepted thing. I probably started caring about it around 13. That same uncle gave me my first guitar, and I probably had it for a year before I actually had an amp.
Yeah.
I tried like school band instruments like trumpet and stuff. So it was a hard sell a little bit just because I didn't stick with the other stuff.
Yeah.
But
what about when you get into extreme metal? You remember like what the or playing like, you know, heavy music, obviously All Out War, an extremely heavy band. What was your first exposure to that? Like what's the first heavy music you really remember listening to and resonating with you?
Well, I mean, that's pretty much why I wanted to play guitar. Like I wanted to play guitar so I could play those riffs. I wasn't interested in the scales and the practice. I wanted to be able to write those riffs and copy those riffs. So that's really how I learned playing, by putting on stuff like the first couple Slayer albums. The early Metallica stuff was, of course, a super influence with like the down picking and the right hand stuff.
And this, folks, is why they are the big four right there, man. Instantly, man, you fucking roll off Metallica and Slayer. There's a fucking reason. People say, you know, there's a lot of great thrash bands out there. Yes, man, but I mean, you know, there's great thrash bands, but then there's the Metallica and the Slayers of the world. They are a cut above everybody else. They just are.
And I'm not sure how old you are, but I was around. I'm 49, so I was
50.
Okay, so if you were, I'm sure you remember it. And I had a younger guy not that long ago ask me if when they were starting out and, you know, they were just kind of one among the herd, did you realize that there was something special about them? And fuck yeah, you realized there was there. You didn't know what it was, but you knew that there was something different about them. And part of that was working harder and, you know, constantly touring and putting 30 riffs in a song, you know.
Yeah. And not only that, they're rolling fucking like 7-8 minute fucking magnificent thrash fucking opuses out of their sleeves. You know, it's crazy. I mean,
absolutely.
Nowadays, people don't seem to have the attention span to listen to fucking 7 minutes of music anymore.
No, it's crazy when I look at. I remember on Justice for All. It said it was like over an hour and something of music. It was an obligation.
Which is odd that you bring into that, because then I just listened to this All Out War thing, man. 10 tracks in 26 minutes. You fucking hammered. I felt like I was just in like a fucking 3-round fight with like Butterbean, and you just punched me up a bunch of times.
Oh, right. Awesome. Yeah. We kind of tried to trim out some of the fat on this one. Just go for the throat.
It fucking slaps hard, and I think what you did is a smart thing here, man, because this is obviously a very polarizing topic right now, because the music industry, obviously, you know, being in it a long time, is not what it once was, and the way people listen to music and consume music nowadays. So this is nice, man. You fit a full album, and I think only certain genres of music, hardcore, metalcore, or whatever people want to quantify you guys as, but slapping people with 10 songs in 26 minutes, that's not a bad formula when a lot of people are using singles or EPs. You know what I mean? You're getting a full-length album and you're just putting it out there and just bashing people upside the head with it.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're still music fans. We're vinyl guys. You know, we get excited to go to the record store. Like, I hope that other people enjoy that, like me, because you know, essentially you're trying to put out an album that you'd like to hear. Right.
Is that something you guys as a band sit around and consciously have conversations about, though? Because obviously people are consuming music differently. You know, do you guys say to yourselves, hey, you know, people aren't listening to music like they used to. Maybe this is the right number of tracks, or maybe this is the right length of an album, or maybe it should be this long or that long. And do you have to think about it nowadays as an artist?
I think so. I think I don't know. I never have a really good answer for like when people ask about like how we have conversations, because I wish I could explain it better, but there's such a calmness in the way that we make decisions as a band.
Yeah.
It's you'd think that they would be these big conversations, and so many times it's unspoken. So
Yeah.
with this one, we had spoken early on with Drew from Translation Lost, who we did the record with.
Yep.
And I don't know, man. COVID, we certainly didn't have a shortage of ideas, and it just we kind of agreed to do a full length. I think we had about 3 songs done, so we were pretty confident that we were headed in the right direction. Everybody was antsy and eager to play together again, so it came together easy. I wish I had some great story about how we trudged through a year of trying to put it. It came together flawlessly. We were so happy to be in a room together again. It just
so you're saying basically fucking COVID, so it was a pretty abundantly fruitful time for you guys creatively then. Yeah. I mean, so you guys were using the time wisely.
Absolutely. I mean, it happened within 8 months of the last record. So I think we did less than 25 shows for the last record, and then all the touring got canceled for 2 years. So rather than sit around and pick up the touring cycle after everything was back, we kind of got into the like sending ideas back and forth.
Right.
So by the time we were able to get in a room, we were, I don't know, it felt like we were kind of reborn a little bit. We were hungry, and band practice was exciting again. You realize that you miss it. Sometimes it seems like a drag when you're doing it this long, week after week. But when you don't have it for a couple of years, you certainly miss it.
So COVID, when it comes around in like 2022 and slaps us in the face, like you guys just put out "Crawl Among the Filth." So how does COVID it totally derails everything? And like, what are you thinking at that point? Because obviously, we didn't know much. We didn't have a lot of information, man. Like, do you start to think like, holy fuck, this is like, a big part of like our livelihood right here. Like, is this going to be gone? How long is this going to be gone for? Like this source of income.
All of the income probably being on the less important side.
Yeah.
Or you didn't know that there was no end sight. So who knew if we were ever going to get to do it again?
Right.
And it's crazy now that I take it for granted already. We're back doing shows and stuff, and you forget that long time went by that you didn't know if you were ever going to be in a room with these guys again.
I know. I work in healthcare, man. My day job is as a nurse. So we literally just stopped wearing masks. Just stopped like within the last couple of weeks. 3 years we've been wearing masks. I mean, it worked.
Yeah. I work for the Department of Social Services as my day job. So
I just started to think it was just part of the uniform. At some point, it's just like putting on a scrub top. The mask is just part of it.
Yep. Yeah, they're still all over I have them around my shifter in my car. They're still all strategically placed.
So after all these years of you guys being a band, man, like what is the creative process like currently? Like how collaborative is it? Are certain guys bringing in the lion's share of the ideas? Are you guys getting together and just swapping ideas? Like how do you guys work that out? Like now when you're going to get together and make an album?
I think just being like a little bit older, our time's a little bit more valuable. So we try to, when we're together in a room, we try to take advantage of the things that you can't do with like sharing parts.
Yeah.
So usually by the time that we're ready to hammer stuff out, the other guitar player, Taris, who actually recorded the record, I'll send him a riff on a I'm still recording riffs to the voice recorder on the phone, and you can hear the background and stuff like that, and he sends it back and it sounds like an album. He puts the drums to it and stuff. So we kind of do it like that. We kind of filter the stuff around Mike, the singer, who who's the original guy.
Fucking legend.
But it's kind of shared. Whoever's hot and has an idea. I mean, I've said it before about him, but I've never worked with like another group of guys, or especially like another guitar player who usually there's like a little, there's a little competition between the guys, and there's just none of that.
You don't feel that. Yeah.
He's the best. He's a fantastic player, and he's as good a player as he was an engineer at recording. So there's it's whoever's got an idea, it's great. And if somebody else tweaks somebody's part, man, it's all for the same thing. There's really no egos in this band.
Right. And I don't have to tell you in the metal world, obviously, because you probably, to a certain degree, you're probably subjected to some press or album reviews or this and that, or just stuff you read online on Blabbermouth or Metal Injection or whatever. But, obviously the metal world, especially, they love to put everything in boxes and genres and subgenres. But what do you identify All Out War as the most? Because when you put out a 10-track, 26-minute album, it harkens back to something like, like an Agnostic Front album. You know what I mean? It makes me think hardcore,
Yeah. I think all Out Wars always had that hardcore sensibility and the association.
Yeah.
But we're the hardcore is getting very minimal in there, and I think the more metal stuff is shining through.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense because we all came up as metal fans who found the hardcore scene.
Right.
When we were kids, the metal scene wasn't as inclusive as accepting as it is now.
Right.
I feel like the hardcore scene kind of helped the metal guys understand that we got a small enough community as it is. There's no reason to break it down any further. I remember, being 14 years old, you'd go to the big concerts and stuff that you could get into, and your hair wouldn't be long enough for the metal guys. And there was definitely a uniform that they wanted.
Yes.
I think we kind of found hardcore because hardcore was the place for those guys that didn't really feel like they fit in anywhere.
Yeah, spot on for sure. Yeah. I always felt that too. Or God forbid, you fucking let anybody know back in the day when we were growing up that your tastes were eclectic and you weren't flying the metal flag all the time and behind closed doors you listen to anything else. Then you got the dreaded poser label, and that was like an albatross around your neck back when you were a kid. You didn't want to be known as that.
Absolutely.
Detrimental to your fucking your social class.
Right. Absolutely.
So now that you guys get older and wiser in this game now, what's the itinerary like when you guys sit around and plan out going to do dates? Because obviously the narrative in your life changes. You got significant others or kids, families, jobs that keep you tethered, to your area or whatever. Yeah. How do you guys work all that out now? Do you guys have a comfortable touring itinerary?
We're pretty much long weekends, and maybe once a year we'll do a week or two tour. And then we'll do the overseas stuff, which is a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Everybody that we're working with seems accepting of it, and I think we've kind of cumulatively reached a point in our career where we've really mastered the getting along and kind of eliminating all those things that make this thing not fun. When we've been doing this for 10 years again already.
Right.
And when we started doing it, everybody was kind of on the same page with the most important thing here is that it's fun, because it's not that convenient to do anymore.
Right.
Taris is driving 2.5 hours. So it's got to be fun and it's got to be worth it. And it's been like that. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's incredible. It's the easiest run that I've done with the band. I bet, I'm guessing that the other guys would think the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's great, man. Most of us have kids, so the free time is valuable, and this really hits it all. It gets that creative thing out. It's my poker night. It's my Monday night football. It's everything. They're my guys.
And do you have and I certainly don't mean the question in terms of hey, wanting to get rid of you guys at all by any means, because this album right here, just, you're in prime form, man, should be going nowhere. But do you guys ever, as you get older though, ever sit around, or even just you personally, and think, is there a stop date on this when I don't want to do music anymore? Or is it just one of those until the wheels fucking fall off?
I think it's till the fucking wheels fall off, man. For all the reasons I said, if it stops being fun, then I've certainly got other things that I could occupy my time with. I have
Right.
I have a daughter. I have thousands of things I could do.
Yeah.
But until this stops being the most fun thing and the most rewarding thing, and it just works, you know?
And I have daughters myself too, man. So you could make a full-time job out of just scoping out potential boyfriends and waiting near the door with a gun.
Oh, you're not. Yeah. Well, she's only 8. So I'm teaching her how to play drums first. So then, then maybe I can leave these guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Are any of your kids like musical or seem like they want to follow in a musical path?
Well, I'm pretty sure Mike's daughter's playing drums. Our drummer donated his old kit to her. I'm not sure if she's still up with it. I think my daughter's going to be a singer. She's pretty darn good for 8 years old,
What do your own kids think of your music, though, specifically? Like, if you throw out this All Out War album on, like, what do your kids make of it?
Oh, she loves it. She loves it.
Really?
Yeah. I was, I certainly, every once in a while, I feel guilty about the time that I'm away.
Yeah.
And not that long ago, I had a discussion with her about, I don't think I'm going to do it for that much longer, so, I think we're coming up, maybe on the twilight of it. And she told me that she likes that I do it, and she loves telling people that I do it. And she's finally to the size where she can wear like an adult size small.
Yeah.
If I knew this technology better, like we're at my house right now, we practice downstairs.
Yeah.
And right before we go into the practice spot, she did a drawing of one of the All Out War album covers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how much better than that does it get?
I know. I know that has to get a spot like worthy of being presented somewhere, right?
It's every guy's in the band's favorite thing in my house.
Yeah. Yeah. and obviously, and this is, this is certainly typical of a lot of bands, but like when I'm looking up stuff to talk to you about, bullet points, this and that, obviously, searching up All Out War, you end up at your Wikipedia page. Like all bands with longevity, a lot of lineup changes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You feel like, everybody's kind of rowing in the same direction, so to speak, right now, and that this is a good, stable lineup, and everybody, is invested and wants to keep doing it long term. Because it's got to be tough to keep the morale of a band up nowadays. As you said, it's very tough. You're not doing it for financial gain, obviously.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean these guys are veterans. I'm the new guy in it. 20. I got 25 years from when I started, and there's been a lot of guys that came since then.
Yeah.
But this lineup has been together for a little over 9 years.
Yeah.
And before that, we probably had, I don't know, about 6. So out of those almost 30 years, more than half of the time has been with this lineup, I would say.
Yeah.
And they're all more seasoned than I am. So
right.
I'm the new guy. So
right. I'm certainly not I'm going to work every day, but I'm certainly not hitting a stage and playing like balls out, fucking dripping sweat, fucking concerts. But how does that dynamic change? Like as you get older, man, like, is it harder to get up for shows? Is there more preparation? I mean, I got to take fucking Motrin for everything. You know what I mean? Like, what's it like?
It get, the recovery's a little bit longer, but,
you're telling me.
It's still the most fun time. If I could find something else that replaced that feeling, I'd have a lot more time on my hands. But it's the best thing there is. And maybe you can't go as long, but I don't know, like it's a cardio workout,
Right.
So I like it. I like to try to, the more we play, that it feels like it keeps me in shape. It's just one more of the positive things about it.
And obviously today, when people listen to music on the platforms, I think this is a great formula. 10 songs, 26 minutes. But do you guys think about, and obviously this album came out, just this year, but in today's market, trying to stay relevant, stay on people's minds, is there like a pressure to say, okay, well, when are we putting out the next thing? I mean, I know this just recently came out, but is there that pressure? Because you are seeing a lot of people rolling out singles. We got to make sure we're staying on people's mind here. You know what I mean? Did you guys feel that, or you just do it like when it feels right for you guys?
We've certainly talked about that, and there's a lot of bands doing that. Code Orange just dropped 2 new songs, and
they
haven't put out a full length in a while, but they keep
Right.
They
trickle it out there. They trickle it out there.
They stay on everybody's radar. It's not
Yeah.
this flash and then they're gone for 2 years.
Right.
So we've absolutely discussed that. We just don't stop writing. Like we probably have 3 songs since that record. So
right.
And that's great. When we write when you can write, it's something that's kind of hard to force.
Right.
So, maybe right now we don't need the songs, but if they're coming, you gotta strike when the iron's hot. You gotta take advantage of the inspiration when it comes.
And when you're gonna write, like, how do you specifically like treat writing? Like, are you one of these guys that like says, all right, we were going to do an album, so I'm going to treat it like a job. I'm going to set 2 or 3 hours aside. I'm going to go in this room, sequester myself, and write. Or do ideas just come and you're just jotting down shit throughout the day? Like, what's your own creative process like?
It's pretty much like the latter. I'll voice record me humming riffs.
Yeah.
I've literally got a guitar and some kind of amplification in every room. So because my problem was always that it would by the time I would run and set up my stuff, but the idea would be gone. Yeah. So I'm very impulsive. Something comes in my head. I love that. Yeah. And when it happens, it happens. And at least for me, if I had like a deadline of, you have to, I couldn't do that.
That makes me
happy. Never worked like that.
It brought a big smile on my face to think of you with just an instrument and an amp in like every fucking room. You could just.
I wish I could move this around. I literally have a guitar and an amp or some way to record something in the living room and the bedroom. I have to.
I mean, listen, I understand it though, man. When you're in a band called All Out War, man, you got to be, you got a lot to live up to, man.
I'm trying to keep it all right.
Now, who's the person that comes up? Is there anybody, because, I've had this conversation with other people, and sometimes fucking putting a name on your goddamn band, it winds up being the fucking hardest job in the band. Now, grabbing a name like All Out War is fucking great. Who lays claim to that in the band, picking that name up? That's a beaut right there. That's a great move.
That's a good one. I was a fan of it before I was involved. Woo! I assume Mike's the original guy, so somewhere in that original lineup, Eric, the bass player, came in shortly after that. So
yeah,
somewhere and then, back at a time when all the good names weren't taken.
Yeah, because it's hard to pluck up a name. You could, and then try to find someone else that isn't using that name, and litigation and all that kind of shit. I mean,
yeah,
and as somebody that doesn't know this definitively, so I don't want to speak out of turn here, but have you ever heard of anybody else trying to use that name?
I haven't. I mean, like I was a fan for quite a while before I was in the band, so I saw them. I followed them. I was friends with them.
Right.
They were the only All Out War that I ever knew. And back then, especially before I was in the band, if there was another All Out War, I don't think they would have told them. All Out War was a scary band when I mean, at least to me, they were an intimidating force. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I like that era better that you're talking about, man, because I think that same thing about death metal bands too. You always used to just look at the back of the album cover and it'd just be 4 guys with hair in their faces, like fucking in some photo shoot out under a tree or out in the woods somewhere, and it was fucking terrifying. But now we've got so much social media, and we can find out their pet peeves and every fucking goddamn thing we want to know about these guys now. And the mystique, there was more of a mystique back then.
Absolutely, and that it all worked. I remember. There used to be like the big club in town, and I had a friend that worked at the hotel where the bands would all stay.
Yeah.
And I remember, he'd have stories about how nice everybody was. And I remember he tried to get an autograph from probably Kerry King. And Kerry King like brushed him off and told him to get away. And he told me this thinking that like, I'm going to be broken because of this. And even at 13, I thought, Of course he's mean. Listen to his music.
Yeah, what were you expecting?
If he was the nicest guy in the world, it wouldn't have made sense.
It destroys the image. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, for years, man, I would listen to an Agnostic Front, and of course, they're not a band that's appearing in magazines or anywhere. I never knew what fucking Roger, man. I'm hearing this guy's voice, and I'm like, I don't know what this guy fucking looks like. I wouldn't know him if I tripped over him. You know, you just didn't have access to that. If the band didn't put a photo, in that cassette sleeve, you had no fucking idea.
Absolutely. I remember the Cro-Mags. The inside of the cassette was black.
Yeah.
You didn't know what they looked like until you saw the We Got Pro video, and they were fucking scary. Like, and it worked. Same thing, same exact thing with AF. Yeah. I didn't know what they looked like until I saw the Anthem video at CBGB's. Yeah. And I thought until I went to CBGB's, there was no stage because there were so many people in that place. It just looked like the band was playing on the floor. Yeah.
And not to impugn any other bands, man, but to me, man, especially being partial living in New York, man, I mean, Agnostic Front are, you know,
absolutely
certainly on the Mount Rushmore of hardcore bands.
Yep, I remember buying Victim in Pain. I probably bought it on accident, thinking that it was a metal record. Yeah, you know, and I loved it immediately.
And what was it? Do you remember, like, are you able to tap into, like, when you look back on your life, like, what it was, like, the first time that you heard any form of extreme, like, metal, man? Like, what did it do to you, man? Like, was it primal, man? Was it anger? Like, did it just, get your adrenaline pumping? Like, because it obviously, it's certainly, like, not, like, everybody in the world's cup of tea. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, certain people tap into it, and they're not scared off by the frenetic pace and the ferocity of it all. You know what I mean? Like, what was it for you? I mean, like, what was it doing to you?
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100%, and I'll say it until this day. In some part, I mean, I found metal, but metal chose me. I'm powerless in my love of metal. I could pretend that I never understood people that outgrew metal. Yeah, there's nothing to outgrow. That's why it has the most rabid fan base in the world. It's something. I think it has a deeper meaning to a lot of people. Yeah. But for me, I had a bunch of older friends, and I remember a kid coming over with the Peace of Mind record and giving it to the other kid, and it couldn't be in his house. He was terrified of it. And I remember hearing it and liking it, but not understanding that. And then I remember getting Hell Awaits, and that was probably the first of the modern threat, metal that scared me and really worked on me, and like you're saying, kind of created a feeling inside of me. Yeah, gave me that pumped up feeling. Whereas things that I had been listening to up until that, like Quiet Riot and Romantics and bands like that, I enjoyed them, and it was fast paced. And even Maiden, I still love Maiden. Yeah, but they didn't do that to me. But as somebody, Black Oak Arkansas, maybe too. That was a little before that. That I heard that Black Oak Arkansas album. That I remember being the first thing that I remember thinking, like, oh, this is that stuff that I'm not supposed to listen to. There's something going on there that I'm interested in. But as a musician yourself, and certainly call it metalcore, call it deathcore, but when I think of All Out War, as I said earlier, I very much think of hardcore first and foremost. But as somebody that gets up there and plays extreme metal, to use a broader term, I certainly hear melody in your music. Can music, and I've asked other people this before too, I'm interested to get your opinion. Can music just get too heavy for the sake of being heavy and cease to be enjoyable? Where you hear all these blast beats and everything's just a wall of noise. And that's not to impugn what these bands do, but can music sometimes be so heavy that it ceases to be enjoyable? I definitely think so. I think at least personally for me, I kind of, some of the super recent, like the more, I think it would be categorized as like tech metal. Yeah, might lose me a little bit. I would kind of say as a whole, not to disrespect any. Right. I think it's all fantastic, and those guys can play circles around me. Yeah. But for me, it's that intangible thing that it's hard to put a finger on. But I feel like, especially metal fans, you can tell if somebody's phoning it in, and you can tell if this is some riff that, some guy was feeling something inside and wrote down it and sat down and decided to write these parts or something like that, as opposed to guys who were kind of mathematically maybe trying to figure out a formula on how to like put as many notes into a measure. That is not my thing. I kind of tend to go for the spur of the moment visceral stuff where you can kind of feel what that guy was thinking when he was playing that, if that makes any sense.
And when you're playing in a live setting now, like what do you feel is like the or for people, I'll word it more like this, for people that haven't seen what All Out War does live, like what do you think? Because I've heard hardcore artists say before that it's that exchange of energy, like with the fans. And I went to see Agnostic Front and Sick and Law last year, and I felt you could feel the momentum in the room like build up as their set goes on. The people are just like with them. I mean, and really plugged in with them. Do you get the sense that your audience is like that as well? That the
100%. That's one of the most gratifying parts of playing.
Yeah.
The give back from the people that are watching you, and it doesn't matter if you get through to one person or a ton of people. That one kid that comes up and after the show and it was his first time seeing you, or he got the nerve up to come up. I remember being that kid. I'm still that guy. That's really where it's at, man.
Well, when you say though, like still being that guy, you specifically, are there times when like you've gotten to meet any of your quote unquote heroes and been starstruck?
Yeah, I'll embarrass myself right now because we just played the Decibel Fest in Philly.
Okay. Yep.
And dream come true, playing among guys that I looked up to forever. And I got off stage and walked behind the merchandise, and Dan Lilker from Nuclear Assault and Ross Dolan from Immolation are standing there, and I just rattled off their names in front of them like it was some kind of contest that you could name these guys, and felt a little bit like an idiot for doing it. I went up to Dan Lilker later and talked with him a little bit. Super cool. Told him I didn't want to. I was just a fan. Yeah, and I it's still like that, man. Like I'm still as excited. I walk around backstage like I don't belong there because I can't believe that I'm part of this thing that I was a fan of. Yeah.
And I like that you brought Nuclear Assault, man, because like anytime I'm thinking of specifically thrash music, and that's a genre that is really near and dear to me that I love. But when someone would say like, geez, what does thrash music sound like? Or like if I need that blueprint band, I go to a band like Nuclear Assault. Here's what thrash should sound like, Absolutely. Yeah. Dan Lilker, a legend in the scene.
Legend. Everything he's done. Yes.
Yeah. Now, and speaking of legends, when you look back at All Out War now, this is like, as we talked at the top of the interview, been a hell of a fucking run, man. Like, what do you think you guys have left behind as a legacy? If you could sum it all up, man, this 25-year run.
Wow, that's a good one.
Definitely some bodies left in the wake for sure.
Yeah, man. We've made a ton of friends. I hope we've provided some entertainment for people, and I know there's a lot of people that relate with Mike's lyrics. The idea that you could help somebody out during a hard time or assist with anything like that. From on the outside, that metal gets such a bad rap all the time, and I don't know. I've seen nothing but positive things in it.
Yeah.
So just that give back. I hope that the people that have seen us over the years understand how much we enjoy it and how much we appreciate them.
And what is your own personal impetus when you're going to sit down and write songs? I know I asked you about your process, but obviously, a lot of your lyrics, you guys are known as a band, again, playing extreme metal, fast paced, brutal. How do you get your own personal motivation when you're going to write some songs? Are you like a news guy, newspaper, you're drawing it from movies or, stuff you read on the internet, the newspaper, what's the impetus for you?
somewhere in that ether. It's somewhere.
We're still pissed at shit, aren't we?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's absolutely stuff to be pissed off at, and that's what keeps me level-headed in normal life. It's my outlet. If I'm frustrated, I can play guitar for a little bit, and sometimes something comes out of that, and sometimes something doesn't. I think I've taught myself that, like I said before, sometimes I'm going to have ideas and they're going to come out, and I might have too many ideas at the time. And sometimes I'm not going to have anything. And if you tell me that you need a bunch of songs, I don't know if I can work like that.
Right.
But somehow it's balanced out. And but like I don't like search for inspiration or anything like that. I kind of,
thank God, man, because I wouldn't want to think of somebody in All Out War going to search for inspiration. I don't even know what it would look like. I imagine it wouldn't be a good look for a guy in a band like All Out War, though. Like if you're out in the middle of like a field of tulips and you're writing songs.
No, I was thinking like the Seasons in the Abyss, like me walking through like the desert, kind of alone.
Yeah, that's better. That's a better scenario. Yeah, that's definitely a better scenario.
Still not doing that. But that's what it might look like.
And now sometimes this part of the interview certainly, winds up being, and as I wind down, this most of the time winds up being the hardest question I throw at anybody. And I had an interview earlier today, and he really wrestled with it, man. But what's the desert island pick? I'm dropping Andy on a desert island, man, and you can only take one. And none of this bullshit, Andy. I'm going to tell you straight up, none of this compilation or greatest hits bullshit either. This is an album you got to live with, man, on this desert island for who the fuck knows how long? I don't know. All right. 50 fucking years.
I was thinking survival tools. I didn't immediately go to album. Album. All right.
Yeah.
Just one?
Yeah. And while you're rolling it around in your head, the last guy, did hit the nail on the head as to why this is tough. And this
Who's the last guy? Because I watched a ton of your interviews.
I haven't put it up yet. I just recorded it today. I just
watched the Forbidden one.
Yeah.
I watched the two of the James Murphy ones.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I started getting intimidated. I didn't think I thought this show was a little too famous for me.
That's nice of you to say.
There was
I might use that
Chris Holmes thing on there. There was a Chris Holmes. I don't know if I got down a rabbit hole, but there was like a Chris Holmes video from Wasp on there.
No, I don't know. No, that might have been somebody else. I know you're watching me, but I have reached out to Chris Holmes. But I'll tell you my side story.
You just had a guy from a Swedish band that killed.
Yeah, Vomitory.
Yes. Oh no. That I saw, but you referred to the Vomitory one, and you asked this guy why Swedish metal is so great.
Oh yeah. I think he's in a band called Carnosis.
That is it.
A great death metal band. I shout out to those guys, man. Yeah, well, because I had to pose the question to him, dude, because Sweden's been rolling out great death metal for fucking since the beginning of fucking time. You know what I mean?
At the gates, yeah.
And most of those guys attributed to exactly what I thought they would. Gloomy, bad fucking weather, and a lot of fucking shit to be down about, I guess.
Sure.
But I don't know what those guys in Florida have to be so pissed about. They're living down in the sun, and living the good life. And that's a hotbed for death metal.
That's true. The inland, I guess you got the bug problem in the swamps and stuff.
Yeah. There's always a reason to be angry.
Right. All right. So desert island album.
I thought you were trying to squirt. I thought you were trying to skirt around this, but
no. It's between two already.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. Fair enough. You got it narrowed down.
At least no, it might be between three.
Okay.
You just want to know the one.
Well, you can tell me what one would ultimately win, but I would like to hear all three. Sure.
All right.
I've liked talking to you. Maybe I will let you take fucking three on this island.
If you let me take three, how about you let me take two?
You're a hell of a negotiator. Yes. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to deviate from one of the big four, and I'm going to start with To Megatherion.
Okay.
And picking one Celtic Frost is tough for me.
Okay.
So the next two that it's between is probably hoping for something more exciting, but it's got to be between Ride the Lightning
Okay.
and Hell Awaits.
Okay.
And the only reason I'm iffy on Hell Awaits is because it's a short album.
And you are metal to the core, and that really proves it right there, because a lot of people, even though they are in metal bands that I talk to on here, they will wrestle with the fact that they're thinking that they're living with this album. And I've wrestled with this issue. You're living with this album, but what if your emotions, you're running the gamut of emotions? What if there are days when you do want something slow and somber, though? Would you regret bringing all this metal with you?
Oh, it would definitely be metal.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if I've got an album in my top 20 albums that's not a metal album.
Okay, so you don't necessarily say, "Hey, man, like when I'm in my feelings, I may need a Barry Manilow album along with me."
Oh, I mean, there's absolutely a place for that stuff, but
but not on this island.
It's 98% metal, man.
Yeah,
keeping
it real, man. You're keeping it real, dude.
I wish I was more diverse, but. And I've got a bunch of other stuff, and I like a bunch of stuff, but 90% metal.
One more question I got to ask you, as somebody, because I've yet to see All Out War ever live myself, but I've certainly watched plenty of what you guys do on YouTube. Some of those shows are shot so well that you feel like, and kudos to some of the fans there, like you feel like you're right there or whatever. But what's your take on, and completely different genre than you, but when you see a band like a Kiss, a legendary band, but you see them now at this point in their career and they're getting shit on for using backing tracks and whatever, smoke and mirrors. I'm not a musician myself, but you give them a pass because of who they are, or is it bullshit and should you always be delivering the real live genuine article?
I don't think and I'm not particularly a Kiss fan.
Right.
I don't have anything negative to say about Kiss. Those guys still put on a better show than guys.
Yeah, half their age, right?
Less than half their age, right?
Yeah.
Paul Stanley is still in better shape than me. He has fantastic hair. I mean, they're anything you say about them, and as luxurious as it is, they're still on the road and they're still out there busting their asses playing. And maybe they're using some things to beef it up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, but it's hard. It's hard to replicate what you did 25, 30 years ago. Anyway, though, who can do that?
Isn't it better for the fans that they get to hear it the way that they listen to it on the records than if we didn't fix it up a little bit?
Yeah. Well, plus I think I think part of what's always made Kiss great, though, and I think even Kiss themselves would say, hey, we're not the fucking, virtuoso players here, but you're pretty much going for the whole experience. You know what I mean? Like the pyro, the Gene Simmons dripping blood off his tongue. You're going for the whole show there.
Right. And it still looks like a great show to me.
Yeah. This has been a lot of fun talking to you, man. I really appreciate you chopping it up with me for all this time, man. And you're probably one of the only people that I've ever let off the hook and let bring 2 albums, man. That shows how much I really like you, man. Yeah.
That means a lot.
But this has been a blast, man. And when I put the episode up, I'll send you a link to it. Please feel free to share it, on the band's website, your website, whatever, man. But stay in touch for sure, man. And definitely we'll do it again sometime.
Great, man. Thank you for so much for getting in touch with me, and I'm super excited that I did it.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
Later, man. You too, brother. Thank you.
All righty.
Later. There he goes. There goes Andy. I am gonna phonetically say it for him. PIETROLUONGO. He deserves that after such a fucking kick-ass interview. And he only happens to play guitar for just a little ferocious band out of New York called All Out War. If you don't say it like that, All Out War, then phonetically you're not saying it correctly. Grammatically, you're not saying it correctly. And that's where I stand on that. Great guest. Tons of fun, man. And if you don't know All Out War, they've been doing it for a long time. I mean, Andy said he's got a 25-year run, and they were going before that. Hammering you all the fucking way, as you would expect any band that would go by the name All Out War would do. The last album was 2023's Celestial Rot. Celestial Rot if you're listening to an album called Celestial Rock, and this album comes in with 10, count them, 10 songs, 26 minutes, you'll feel like Mike Tyson just grabbed you and just pummeled your fucking face for 26 minutes. And you'll want to start all over again. That's how great this fucking album is, man. Guys that know how to fucking throw down. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode. Thanks for Andy for doing it, man. That was a real fucking blast, man. And until we get together and do this thing again, because I got to leave and go watch America's Got Talent. It's Tuesday night as of recording this. So got to go. Say what you want about me being wimpy for watching AGT, but I'm 50 years old. Dancing with the Stars and AGT. And of course, bringing you this amazing podcast is my life's work. So good night. And until we get together again, take it easy and keep it sleepy.